Good evening and welcome to tonight's live. I'm Louise, I'm one of the clinical nurse specialists here at Breast Cancer Now, and I'm delighted to be joined by our guest Sarah, who I will introduce in a minute from Flat Friends. Just a bit of housekeeping before we get started. We have got the chat function, we've got questions that you can post throughout the live, and we'll endeavour to answer some of those this evening. If we don't get round to answering them this evening, I will be answering those tomorrow. So don't worry about that. If you don't want to ask a question during the live, but you want to speak to one of the nurses about something that we might have spoken about this evening, the helpline will be open from 9 a.m. Tomorrow morning. Again, the helpline number will be in the comments section. We also have a survey, which if you can fill that out, we'd be really grateful for you for doing that. It's really important to find out what you like about these lives, if there's things that we're not doing, topics we're not covering, and it really helps us back with the feedback that you give us. So if you can spare a few moments to complete the survey, we'd be really grateful for that as well. Before I introduce Sarah, I just want to let you know also we've got a Facebook Live coming up next Thursday on the 14th, which is around support for people with secondary breast cancer over the festive period. I'll probably mention that again towards the end, just as a reminder. So without further ado, I would like to introduce Sarah, who is the Chair of Trustees at the charity Flat Friends. If you'd like to introduce yourself, Sarah, and explain a bit more about yourself and about what Flat Friends offers, that would be great.
Yeah, my name's Sarah Coombs. I was diagnosed with breast cancer around this time of year in 2014. I just turned 35 and I decided fairly instantly that I didn't want reconstruction. I knew I'd need a mastectomy, and so I said, can I have a mastectomy, no reconstruction, and can I have the other breast removed as well to be symmetrically flat? And my surgeon was lovely, supportive, but was doubtful that I knew what I was asking for. I had my surgery in January 2015. I had a double mastectomy, and my surgeon did a beautiful job. But I still very much felt like I'd asked for something very unusual, that I was the only person that had ever asked to not have reconstruction. And then in the March-April time, I had a message from a lady called Jilly who said, we've got a Facebook group for women in the UK who are living without reconstruction. And I joined that group in about April 2015. And at that point, there were probably about 50 of us. And I know now that doesn't sound like very many, but to me, it was just incredible that I suddenly realised that I wasn't the only one, that there were all of these other women all over the UK that were living without reconstruction. And initially, Jilly had set up that Facebook group just to find other women to chat to about, what clothes they were wearing, where were they buying their bras from, just being able to chat with other like-minded women. And then as the months went on, it became very apparent that women were coming to the group because they were struggling to get that surgery. They had surgeons that weren't supportive, that were refusing to do double mastectomies for symmetry reasons, women being left with excess tissue because the surgeon was convinced that they would change their mind and want reconstruction, even though they'd been very clear that they didn't want it. So in 2016, we became a registered charity, and I'm one of the trustees. And we now have 3,000 women in our Facebook support group. That number ebbs and flows because we're open to women who are living flat or facing that decision for whatever reason. So we do have women that join who want just to do some fact finding. They want to come and ask some, they want honest answers to the questions that they've got, that with the best will in the world, surgeons and breast care nurses don't know the answers to. They have no experience of what breast prosthesis works best, or where to get the best bra, or what to wear to the Christmas do this year if you don't wear breast prosthesis. So We have women joining, getting the information that they need, going off and having reconstruction. We have women that choose to not have reconstruction, and we've got members that, like me, have been in the group since it started.
Great.
Obviously, since becoming a charity, we've got a patient booklet, we've got a website, we attend events like the Association of Breast Surgery conference. Yeah, that's
Hold
our
up the
latest
booklet there.
edition of our booklet. It was redone this year, so it's got lots of new photos of women who are living flat.
Yeah.
Lots of
Thank
patient-led advice in there as well.
Thank you. That's really, really sort of good. And I think as we go on with the conversation, we'll pick up on some of the things that you've raised there. And I think sort of firstly, I suppose for some people that might be watching, there'll probably be a whole array of people that are watching, but some people might be coming or might be recently diagnosed and be faced with that decision around sort of a mastectomy. And just going back, just to explain for people that might not know what a mastectomy is when you're faced with a breast cancer diagnosis, there's two main types of surgery. And one is what we term as breast conserving surgery, a lumpectomy. So that's the removal of the tumour with a margin of tissue, but keeping the sort of the breast, the rest of the breast there. A mastectomy is removal of all of the breast tissue, including the skin and the nipple. And then people are given the option, or should be given the option, as to whether they choose to have a mastectomy or without or with reconstruction. So, and that is a personal choice, really. And again, it's people will often say, well, why would you have a mastectomy or why would you have a lumpectomy? And again, that will be individual to that person, and it might be based on the size of the tumour that they've got, the location, if the breast cancer is across a large area or in different areas of the breast, or it, again, for some people, if the size of the tumour is too big and they're not suitable for chemotherapy or chemotherapy doesn't shrink it enough, again, that may well be a reason for mastectomy. And I suppose another reason is for people that have family history and they choose to do it for risk reducing options for having both breasts as well, which I suppose is different. And I suppose what you were saying is for symmetry, for yourself, is that you chose to have that. And we hear so often from women who choose to have a mastectomy without reconstruction. Not all of them, but some of them can feel that that's a real struggle when they're faced with having one breast removed, because it's not standard practice to remove both breasts. And the current practice, if people ask for it, is that some hospitals will say that they need to have a psychological assessment, not because the team feels that they're not fit to make that decision, but I suppose it gives the option to do that. Was that something you were offered, Sarah, when you came to that decision?
I think the issue at the moment is that I think if all women were being offered psychological assessments, whether they were wanting to go down the reconstructional route, that would be a great service to be able to tap into, because it is, we are in shock. It is traumatic being told that you need to have this life-changing surgery. I think the issue at the moment is that the only women that are being made to have psychological assessments are the women that are saying, I don't want reconstruction, and can you remove my breast because I want to be symmetrical? The women that want to achieve symmetry without going down the reconstruction route are being forced to have psychological assessments. It's not being offered as a supportive tool. It's a hurdle. It's part of the battle, unfortunately, at the moment. I think it's a great service, and it's very useful for a lot of women, but it isn't offered to every woman. It's only forced upon a certain group at the moment, which is a shame.
Yeah. And I suppose as well, it maybe is that sort of information giving that it's purely that women understand that it is for symmetry, and there's not an additional, unless it's a family history, there's no risk reduction, which a lot of women initially, I think, on diagnosis almost sort of will say, I want both off. And it can be really difficult, because those decisions, as you say, have to be made quite quickly, and it's a bit of a minefield. So I think it's really important. I know we spoke about this before. It's about that informed decision or shared decision making, but being given all of the possible options on the table. and allowing that person to feel that they're making the right decision. Because I know you sort of said that you were made to feel that you weren't sort of making that decision, or it was not the decision that they thought you should be making.
Yes.
Do you want to talk a bit more
Yes.
about that?
As I say, my surgeon was lovely, but the first thing she said was, "Oh, you're very young. You'll be very flat. You're in shock." And then I was, herded off to go and sit with the breast care nurse. And what about your boyfriend? You won't be able to find any nice clothes. And I'm someone that I know my own mind. And I was sure in that moment that I absolutely didn't want reconstruction, and that I didn't want to be left with one breast. I would rather just be symmetrically flat. And even I went away from that initial appointment, and bearing in mind that's the appointment where I'd just been told I'd got cancer. So yes, I was in shock, absolutely, but that didn't mean that I didn't know my own mind. But even I went away thinking, I've never been through this before. These are the experts. These, this surgeon, these nurses, they do this day in, day out. Maybe they're right. Maybe I don't know what I'm talking about. Maybe I do want reconstruction. And it was only the support of people that knew me that said that they don't know you. They know this situation, they know the surgery, they don't know you. So it's absolutely about patient-centered care, and like you say, it's about informed decision making. And that's really what Flat Friends, the charity, was formed for. It was to ensure that women had access to all of the information, the pros and the cons of living flat. And unfortunately, I think at the moment I was very much told about the cons. I was told, you won't be able to find nice clothes. I have. What will your boyfriend think? Well, nobody loves you because of your breasts. People love you for you as a person. But in that moment, if that's the only information you're given, that's going to inform your decision. Whereas if every woman is given, at the moment, all women are supposed to be given all reconstruction options, whether they're available locally or not under the NICE guidelines. If women are being given all of that information, it should surely be standard practice that they're also told. But equally, some women don't have reconstruction. You can live well without reconstruction, whether you live single or double flat. And for us, it's about making sure that women are given all of the information that they need. And at the moment, that information is coming from Breast Cancer Now and Flat Friends, and all the patient-led information-based organisations and charities. Ideally, it should be coming in those appointments with our clinicians.
Yeah. And I think that was really nice what you said about sort of partners, because we often hear about people, whatever surgery they've had, that they're really fearful about the impact on body image after breast surgery, whether that's lumpectomy, mastectomy, and reconstruction. And it is, and so that's how it should be. But so many people, and I think with scars and how bodies, your altered body image can impact, it can be really difficult for some people.
Absolutely. And I think, the research that we're involved with at the moment has sort of come out and shown that there is a gender assumption about what a woman should look like, that we're bombarded all the time, aren't we? There's a societal view of what a woman should look like. And very rarely does that image include a woman with scars, a woman without two breasts. So we're sort of on the back foot before we even start, aren't we? And I think a lot of it does depend on the support network that you've got around you. And for some women, you have, like I did, I was very lucky. I had a really good support network. I had people that, were supportive and around me and emotionally supportive and practically were there for me when I needed them. But some women don't have that. And our support network that we've created is trying to fill that gap. It's amazing the people that come into the Facebook group in the middle of the night with that burning question, and who do you turn to? you can't ring your breast care nurse at the hospital on a Saturday morning when you've suddenly got a query, or that's where these support networks that we've created, that's where they really come into their own. It's
Yeah.
filling that gap that for those women that don't have an understanding ear, I think. We're really lucky. We've got 3,000 women in our Facebook group. They're not all active at any one time. We've got face-to-face meetups happening all over the UK that we set those up about a year ago. And it's having women that have been through the same situation that you've been through. And it's such a rich tapestry because we've all got different, like you're saying, we've all got different diagnoses. We all had different surgeries for different reasons. We've all got different life experiences, but everybody's supportive and will answer any question that they can, or offer those words of comfort that you sometimes need, or reassurance.
Yeah, yeah. And I think that's absolutely right. That peer support, that understanding, that sort of shared experience of what you've been through is absolutely vital. And just on the back of that, our Someone Like Me service, I know that we've spoken about, Sarah, is a peer support service, so people could be matched with somebody, whether that's in the decision making side of things. When you're considering a mastectomy, you can be matched with a volunteer who's had a mastectomy, so they can talk through what it was like for them, or maybe it might be the recovery side of things, so it might be just those sort of questions about what sort of things I wear, bras, and sort of how you navigate life afterwards. So that's something that we'll put a link in the comments for, and our forums as well, like the Facebook group. People can post questions, and I think it is that sort of 2-3 o'clock in the morning when you do wake up and think, oh my God, or I've got that question and who can I ask? And that's really fantastic that the Facebook group is there, and that number of people, there's bound to be somebody that is there to respond.
Yeah,
Early hours of the
it's
morning.
only ever going to be other mastectomy patients that can say anything about what a seroma feels like when you have that collection of fluid under your scar, and it's like that feeling of having a hot water bottle under there. It's only someone that has that feeling when the nerves start to try and heal that you have that, what we call phantom nipple itch. No one else who's had, you've got to have had a mastectomy to really know what those things feel like, to be able to support each other.
Yeah, no, that's really good. And just some of those terms like the seroma and the phantom nipple pain, we've got information on our website, but we've also got post-op recovery booklet if people wanted to sort of know about those things. And just talking about, for anyone that might be about to have a mastectomy, do you want to talk a bit about sort of recovery and how it was for you, Sarah, when you had your mastectomy? Because I think lots of people, again, are fearful that it's a very big operation. And often as a nurse, it's psychologically it can be a big operation, but physically sometimes the recovery is not as bad as people anticipate.
I was last on the list, so I think I went down at about 3 o'clock in the afternoon. I was back on the ward by about 5. I probably had a bit too much morphine. I was a little bit squiffy. 7 o'clock the next morning, I was ready to go home. Where's my surgeon? Someone needs to discharge me. I just need to go home. I wanted to be back in my own bed, my own bathroom. I felt perfectly well in myself. And I remember waking up and looking down and seeing that I was flat, and it was just relief that my surgeon, and even then at that point I didn't realise, but that my surgeon hadn't changed her mind mid-surgery, that I had woken up with the body that I was expecting. I think the things that you don't appreciate is that even though I only had, I'd had 2 or 3 lymph nodes taken from my armpits a few weeks beforehand to be tested.
Right.
So my surgery was literally just simple mastectomy. And even with that, just not being able to raise your arms properly, for everything just feels a bit tight. You need someone to potentially help you wash your hair, lift things out of cupboards, help you maybe pull things over your head when you're getting changed. But actually within a couple of weeks, I think that had really eased. I had the breast cancer. I think you were breast cancer care back then, but I had the exercises and I was doing my exercises. I had a V-shaped pillow to help me prop up in bed, so I didn't end up laying on my chest to start with. I had drain bags that I went home
Yeah.
with. District nurses came in regularly, checked them. I had the drains removed after a week, I think. I was back driving. I think it was about 3 or 4 weeks later, and I felt like I could pull the handbrake on, change the gears again fully. And then I was back at work after 4 weeks, and I had 2 weeks back at work, and then I started my chemotherapy a few weeks later.
Yeah.
Yeah, that my recovery, I was very lucky. I did develop a seroma on that side. So I had that fluid drained because it just kept growing. I had it drained once and it came back very slightly and then just resolved.
Yeah.
The body just absorbed the fluid. My scars healed beautifully, and initially they do look very red and aggressive. But actually now, within a year, I've just had sort of white silver lines.
Yeah. And I know we spoke about this last week about this sort of scars, and people often will say, what is it going to look like? What's the scar going to look like? And the booklet that I held up earlier, the updated one's got some pictures of mastectomy scars in it.
Yeah.
Which people can access, and they can find that on the website. But I would always say again, when people ring up and ask if they can look at pictures, it's about, and this might be difficult, and I know this is something that we spoke about as well, is ask your treatment team, ask your surgeon if they've got pictures of their work, because you can go online and you can find mastectomy scars. But I think it's really important as well that you ask your treatment team if they've got sort of pictures of their work. And I know, probably anecdotally and what I've heard, they may not have pictures, but it's something that we might need to nudge them to do. And I know a colleague of mine is certainly doing that in her breast team at the moment. She's asking the surgeon if they can collect a sort of
centre
portfolio.
pages in our booklet with the gallery of mastectomies. It was there initially so that women knew what to expect. I mean, certainly when I Googled double mastectomy scars at the end of 2014, I was just shown pictures of Angelina Jolie because she just had her mastectomy. That wasn't very helpful to me at all. No. So in the middle of our booklet, we've got those images so that women know what to expect, but also they're really helpful for having that conversation with your surgeon. Like, this is what I want my scar to look like. I was talking with someone a couple of weeks ago, and she said, I had no idea what the scar would look like. I Googled it, and then I rang my team up and said, I've seen mastectomy scars, I've seen straight ones, and I've seen the smiley shaped ones. Can I have smiley shaped ones? So it's about being able to have those conversations with your surgeon. Yeah. And it's also helpful that, like you were saying, about depending on your body shape, your breast size, where the tumour was, every single person's mastectomy scar will be unique to them, and where that scar sits on their body, how long the scar is, how smooth the scar lays against the ribs is so individual to the patient, to the surgeon. And so it's really important about having that conversation with the surgeon about what your expectation is. This is what I would like to look like. Are you going to be able to achieve that? So at least the surgeon can say, actually, no, because of these reasons, your scar will look more like this. And again, it goes back to that patient-centered care, that informed decision-making. Yeah. It's signing up to something before you've seen what you're going to get.
Yeah. And I think a couple of queries we've had in more recently, and I think it's a term that's being used much more in America than over here, but it's the term aesthetic flat closure, which I know when I started as a breast care nurse that mastectomy scars were maybe not as sort of aesthetic, as pleasing as or cosmetically pleasing as they should be now. But we do still hear from people on the helpline where after their mastectomy they may have sort of some excess tissue at the side, either just underneath the sort of where their bra line is or in the centre. And do you want to talk through sort of, again, I know it's not something we've adopted over here yet, whether that will be something that is referenced to, but Yeah, it might be helpful to talk that through a bit.
Yeah, we're trying to work alongside the bodies that will be making that decision about whether it seems very likely that a specific term will be picked up by the UK, just in terms of being able to record the data. Because at the moment, there's no way they can tell you how many women have had certain types of reconstruction in the last 12 months, but they can't tell you how many women have had a bilateral mastectomy for symmetry. They can't tell you how many women have had a mastectomy with no plan to have reconstruction. So there is a need for a term. Whether it's aesthetic flat closure, I don't know. It's not my favourite turn of phrase.
No.
I think it's quite a hard phrase, actually. I think we need to be making this easy for patients to use. Patients shouldn't need to know key terms in order to get the surgery that they want. I feel very strongly that women should just be able to say, I want a mastectomy without reconstruction. They shouldn't have to specify that they want a neat scar. That really should be a given. Women shouldn't be waking up with excess tissue because the surgeon thinks they might change their mind, so I'll leave a bit of room. I think flat closure is a good term. I think if we can make it publicly as well, as well known as reconstruction, then that would be great. But I think initially it will be finding a term that is easy for people to understand and that is easily adopted.
Yeah. And I suppose for some women, they might have the excess tissue and it may not be as sort of cosmetically pleasing to them. And I think the real important thing for if anyone is watching and they feel that again, I used to speak to ladies that they'd say sort of it just rubs and I can feel it. That it's about going back to their treatment team and saying their surgeon that actually I'm not happy with how this looks, and is there something you can do to improve the appearance of how it looks currently?
Yeah, we've got loads of women in our group who have done exactly that. They've got that little bit of excess that rubs on the bra there, or the bit that pokes out, or that you can see that the scar isn't smooth under their clothing. And it is about going back and saying, can you just tidy up my scar? Yeah.
And again, just going back to, we were talking about sort of just after the operation. I suppose we hear a lot on the helpline for people that are preparing for surgery is around sort of will I be offered a prosthesis? What sort of bras do I need? And any sort of tips or hints, or did you choose to have a prosthesis at all, or was it not something you
I
wanted?
didn't. I remember my poor breast care nurse came to me for about the fourth time and said, it was the day I was about to be discharged home, and she was like, I've brought a bag, but I'm guessing you won't want these things. And I said, no, I don't want to put anything on there. I'm fine. But most units will be able to offer what they call softies. You can have the larger silicone prostheses. They're, both of those are free on the NHS. And if you get one, if you change weight and you need to change size, or if you've had it a while and it becomes a little bit dogged, then you can ask for new ones. We have lots of women that are getting on well with Knitted Knockers. They're a charity that will knit a cotton breast form for you to size. There are lots of other brands available. So a lot of the bra companies, Boost, are doing different styles of breast forms. And I think at the moment what's really impressive is that the high street stores are starting to offer a wider range of mastectomy bras, post-surgery bras, crop tops, different things that you can wear with a prosthesis in one side and your breast on the other, or not, and it will fit you well. So there are options out there. It doesn't have to be as expensive as it initially can seem.
Yeah, and I know certainly when I was in practice and as an organisation, certainly we don't sort of endorse or sort of say a particular brand, but you don't have to buy an expensive post-surgery bra there. It's getting better. I know many years ago it was just really sort of specialised companies that did bras, and they could be quite expensive.
Yeah.
But
and I would
now
say if you're about to go into surgery, don't rush out and spend lots of money now. absolutely wait until you've had your mastectomy and your scars have settled, and then go somewhere and have a fitting and try different things.
Yeah. And again, I think Kev's going to put it in the comments, is the bras, prosthesis and clothing after breast surgery, for anyone's interested. And we have got a sort of a list of sort of different companies, retailers that offer certain services. But again, your treatment team, some hospitals, some of the bigger hospitals will have sort of in-house where you can be fitted. And we'd often say, going into surgery, if you are planning on having a prosthesis after, is to maybe go up a back size just to allow for swelling, just so that the bra's not too tight where there is post-op swelling and you might have some drains in. So that's something just to factor in. I was going to say something then, and it's completely
I'll jump
slipped
in
my
and say
mind.
also,
Yeah,
if women aren't wanting to wear a bra with a prosthesis every day, some women chop and change. It just depends on where they're going, what outfit they're wearing. But we've got on our website, and there's a little bit in the booklet about different styles of clothes that will suit you, whether you want to wear a prosthesis or not. Some women that wear prosthesis can still feel a little self-conscious, so it's about trying different styles of clothes that you maybe wouldn't have tried before, and some little hints and tips just to get you started. Like you were saying, it's about having a completely different body shape to the one that you grew up with and you know, first started trying on clothes with. You're now dealing with something completely different. So
yeah,
we've got lots of advice on different styles that you might want to look at, and just to make people feel confident and comfortable doing that. You know, don't throw out all of the clothes in your wardrobe. Don't assume that they won't suit you after your mastectomy, because they might. So hold on to them and try them on a few months down the line and see how you get on.
yeah. And I think that's really helpful advice, because I know I've spoken to, again, sort of patients of mine when I was in the NHS, are just about sort of feeling, and again, it might be that over as time passes by, you won't feel as self-conscious, but sort of just if people were wearing a prosthesis or weren't, but if they were wearing something that was slightly lower cut and leaning down, sort of the potential of somebody seeing that. But again, I've spoken to lots of people that will say, well, that's me now, and that doesn't faze me. It's everybody else's issue and not mine. So,
And it's amazing. I don't think people notice. I genuinely don't think. I think it's the last thing that people notice. I was at a cancer centre a couple of weeks ago, and a woman. I was talking to a woman, and she said, "Oh yes, because I didn't have reconstruction." I said, "Oh, didn't you?" And she said, "No." And when I looked, she was very clearly flat, but it was the last thing that I
yeah,
spotted about her.
yeah. I've just remembered what I was going to say. It was around sort of bras and bra fitting. I don't know if you're aware, or anyone who's listening, about Future Dreams, and that's a support service for people with breast cancer. It's based in King's Cross, but they do also do a lot of online support stuff. But they do a bra fitting. So they will, and again, not affiliated to one company, but you can book onto a session and be fitted with a bra, whether or not you choose to wear a prosthesis or not. So they will make sure that they fit you with something that you feel comfortable in after surgery. So that's something, if people are interested, that they can access as well. I'm just thinking, is there anything, if somebody is interested in coming to join one of your meetups, Sarah, how would they find out about coming
They can
along?
either, if you want, you can join our Facebook group. So you just need to find our main profile public page on Facebook, and then just send us a message, and one of our lovely admins will get you joined into the group. Equally, you could email us, support@flatfriends.org.uk, and we can then link you up with your nearest coordinator.
Brilliant.
They're
And
all
and
over. All over
and I know you.
England, Wales, Scotland, Ireland,
Fantastic.
Jersey, you name it. We've got a
Brilliant.
coordinator nearby.
Great. And I know we touched on it right at the beginning, around the sort of, for some people who might be in that cohort of people that were diagnosed in COVID pandemic and were not offered reconstruction, and they're sort of in that space. And Flat Friends is absolutely another support for them. I know you'd spoken about, and we actually had one of the other trustees come and join us at one of our update days a couple of weeks ago, who sort of was in that. So if people are waiting or undecided, as you said, they're also able to come and gain support from Flat Friends as well.
Absolutely. We're absolutely not just for women that have chosen to have a double mastectomy. We're for women that are living single flat, double flat, whether they chose it, whether they were unable to have reconstruction for other health reasons, whether they're waiting for delayed reconstruction, whether they just haven't made their mind up, whether they've had to have their reconstruction explanted. We're here to support anyone who needs us.
Right. Is there anything else that I think we've covered most of the things that we talked about? Is there anything that we haven't covered that I've missed off that you want to add or?
No, I don't think so. I think it's really exciting at the moment because I think Flat Friends and breast cancer now, hopefully this will be the start of lots of collaboration.
Yeah. Well, it's been really great having you on tonight, Sarah, and thanks so much for giving your evening up to spend some time just talking it through. And I suppose if there's any questions that anyone wants to ask or they're not sure about, then of course you can leave a message on our voicemail overnight. We'll be open from 9 a.m. tomorrow morning, and our helpline's open Monday to Friday, 9 to 4, Saturdays 9 till 1. You can speak to one of the nurses, or you can email across on our Ask Our Nurse service. And the Someone Like Me service that I mentioned as well, that's up in the comments if you did want to speak to somebody or get in contact with the Facebook group from Flat Friends, then that support is there for you. Thank you for everyone who's joined us this evening. I did say it at the beginning, but I'll say it again for anyone who joined halfway through. Our next Facebook Live is on next Thursday, the 14th, with my colleagues Catherine and Cassie, and they'll be talking about support for people with secondary breast cancer over the festive period. And the survey is in the comments box, and we'd really appreciate your feedback on tonight's live or any topics or anything that you feel we're doing well or not doing enough of. Then do please give us your feedback, because it's really helpful in putting these on and planning for future ones. So thanks again, Sarah, and thank you all, and I wish you all a good evening.
Thank you.